How's it going, everybody? I hope you're doing well today. It is Sorority Slumbers ASMR, back at it with another fragrance review for you guys. Thank you so much for waiting. I was a little under the weather, so kind of took a couple extra days from filming just to make sure I was all good. And as well, I want to give a quick shout out to Christopher Cologne, or Chris Cologne ASMR. He popped up in the comments section not too long ago, gave me some really great advice and just a lot of love and support. So thank you so much, man. It's really cool to see other members of this kind of niche with ASMR fragrances dropping by. I love the videos and thank you so much. And obviously thank everybody else. We're at 319 subscribers as of filming this, which is the most I've ever had on a YouTube channel, so that's pretty freaking awesome. So today we have what has become a bit of a cherished fragrance in a lot of fragrance circles. I heard a lot about this being one of the best budget option for men looking for something for both date nights and also sort of your evening wear, fall and winter wear. And with me kind of going about my autumn and winter collection, I had to pick it up and figured test it out, give you guys a good review. And that fragrance, as the title has shown, is none other than Bentley For Men Intense. I did actually, funny enough, try to film this video yesterday, but we had some gnarly thunderstorms, so as much as that sounds like a relaxing day, it was not for this microphone. So this fragrance is part of the Amber Spicy family, and I, as well, have had quite the time to test it. To note, out of this review, I primarily tested it during the evening hours after 3 p.m. and a little more at night. I will consider the fact that being that this is the kind of starting to get the roll off of more of the hot summer months, that this is not necessarily a summer fragrance by any means. So I'm not going to be considering too much about how it handles in the heat, obviously, despite me having worn it just to test it, because obviously this is, I think for most people, you're not going to be wearing it during that time, but to each their own, Now, starting off to how I kind of introduced this fragrance, this bottle here, 100 ml, I purchased for $30 on a discounter, but I believe that it goes for anywhere between that $30 price tag and around 40-50 bucks maybe. So even at the high mark, it's still a pretty good price if you're looking for something on the cheaper end or budget end. I don't like saying cheaper just because some people, it's a dirty word when we talk about fragrances, because there's a lot of great value in budget. For packaging, as you can imagine, it's a pretty straightforward, just your typical nice box design, this bronze box design. And then inside, it's just simply kind of like hinged with the cardboard. So we're gonna take this puppy out and observe. Oh, it was almost perfect. Can we do it the first? simple kind of plasticky top. The cap is a little heavier, but overall, very nice design coming out of the box for the price. Very kind of unique. You know, there's definitely probably going to be some bottles like it, but you know, if you're picking this up for the budget option, sorry, I don't know why my stomach's got to be like that. First it's the cars, now it's the stomach. But just a very presentable, nice bottle. Definitely, you know, a conversation starter if you have these on display. And then we have the cap. Nice cap. Not too heavy, but not too light either to feel too cheap like it's gonna break on you. Right there in the cap space, it says Bentley fragrance. More like a sliding cap, not too clicky. Now, let's break down the notes here for Bentley For Men Intense. So for the top notes, we have black pepper, incense, and geranium. With the heart notes, we have clary sage, labdanum, and leather. And for the base notes, we have cedarwood, patchouli, and sandalwood. And as we talk about it, let's get us some sprays. I'll get you guys with one, and I'll get myself with a couple. That was a weak one, sorry. So right off the rip, this immediately starts very, very, what a horrible way to set that up. It's a very prominent smell. Get you with kind of a good, strong opening. Not abrasive, but like a very firm opening. The incense is the most prominent on the top, with that black pepper kind of just tickling the nose a bit, but it doesn't make it super spicy or doesn't stand out too much. It does a really nice job at kind of opening it up. You can kind of, in a way, with the incense, there's like a bit of like, I want to get a booziness to it. Not necessarily like some of the other ones we talked about, but it's kind of faint there. Very mature. As the fragrance starts to kind of taper down, usually after about that first minute or two, we start to get more of that leather scent sort of take hold. The leather is very nice because, again, it's not too prominent. Maybe it's to my nose because it is there. I shouldn't say it's not too prominent. It acts really nicely as sort of like the tether here, but it's not just a straight up full leather smell, but it really takes that opening, that slight spice and the incense, gives it that leather edge, and then as the fragrance starts to kind of taper down into your sandalwoods and cedarwoods, you get that more woody accord while maintaining this bold leather scent. Excuse me again. Oh my god. And that sage too. You know, this sage here is also doing work. It's kind of bringing a little lightness to an overall woody, leathery kind of scent. And that spice, like I said, that pepper, the spiciness is really faint. This isn't overtly spicy, but that black pepper does give it a little dig, a little edge, and really I'm surprised at just how well put together this is for the price tag. scents too is really good for this top note. Again, blending well. And yet, as this thing dries down, usually after about 6 to 8 minutes, you'll start to really get the woodsiness of this start to come in, that nice woody accord. It's a very nice base here. Nothing feels too overpowering, which is a great thing for fragrances like this, especially on that budget end. You know, sometimes you'll get like a specific note really doing a lot of the work and kind of overshadowing the rest of the fragrance. But here, everything is, I can get everything. I get the spiciness, I get that leather, I get this woodsy accord, and even with the geranium and the sage here, it just tapers it a bit from getting too dark and too bold and too heavy, keeping it a little light. And the crazy thing about this fragrance is it also feels a lot warmer as it dries down. So initially you get that spicy take, and you know, as fragrances dry down, you'll sometimes kind of feel like some fragrances will sort of like fade a little bit and then sort of sit and, you know, take their course. But here it really feels like it matures the longer it sits on your skin. Like after just spraying that, I can like feel a little warmer where I sprayed it. Maybe I have an allergic reaction, I don't know. But it feels a little warmer, and it really helps bring together the woodsy and maturity here that we got going on. A little very inviting. And speaking of inviting, you know, this to me is a really great winter scent if you're looking for something that's a little less decadent in the spicy vanilla gourmand. You know, similar to the fragrance I talked about the other day, Nayet's Imperium. While this one has a little boozy accord, it feels a lot more mature, a lot more defined, bolder, and it doesn't get itself too lost in the spice here or too heavy on the woods. Everything is very balanced, very mature scent. Yeah, and that leather, I feel like I'm picking it up a bit more, especially now that I'm kind of sitting here and focused and talking about it. Very nice, very rich, and a warming scent. So it's definitely a huge plus in the winter, but also this is kind of a slept-on date night scent. I feel like a date night scent. This is really good for just trying to add maturity, and there's like a slight hint of that seductive nature, because I feel like while it's so well balanced in a few areas, the leathers, the wood, the you know, the incense, the pepper, the spice, there's just a lot here, and it's so well balanced that to your character, this kind of adds some age. I feel like if you wear this, it's a lot more maturing, and it just has that sort of, I guess, seductive pull that you might want on a date. You know, you just smell very well put together and interesting, and it's a little hard to put your nose around what it is you're smelling, which isn't a bad thing, because it's not like you just take a whiff and go, oh man, like that, you smell like booze and spice. Like, no, this is like, wow, what is that? Now, we've talked about the notes, the packaging, you know, overall kind of when to wear. Now, what's the performance like? Now, keep in mind, like I said at the start, it is August, right? And where I'm at, it's still in the 80s. But I tested this a bunch of different ways in cooler environments, indoors, and at some places I went out to where the temperature genuinely was a lot cooler, so it felt just a little more fitting on the indoors. And I was pretty surprised by the performance here. Now, all of our skin is different, and if you watch my hand sound this video, you know that my hands are dry, but I promise that my skin should start initially from this spray. You get about a really good, solid foot to a foot and a half of projection when you spray this on. Probably would recommend around 5 to 7 sprays. 7 if you're trying to be really pronounced. 5 is probably a nice balance for most men. But you get that foot and a half for the first, I'd say, about hour. After that, and after that warmth kind of transpires a bit, it does taper to a bit more interpersonal, more of like a half foot closer to the person, which again is a good thing for what it's for in the cold winters where you're more close together and or on those date nights. Now with me at around what I was doing about 6 to 8 sprays to really get a test, by about the 4-5 hour mark, it was a lot more just to the clothes and to my skin for me personally. But overall, I got this scent lasting on average at around the 6 hour mark is where it tapered for me. And I've read some people can have this fragrance get to about that 7 or 8 hour mark, which is great to hear. But even for me, 6 hours for the price I paid and for what this is as a fragrance is actually a pretty great win. Because if we're being honest, date nights, are they really going on 8-9 hours? I guess maybe after if you're lucky. And in the winter, you're not going to be outside as much, and usually those environments are warm, which I feel like maybe that will be a lot, there'll be a lot going on in the winter. Usually when you're inside, a lot of different things affect, what people are going to smell around them. So I actually feel like this is actually a really good, winter wear fragrance. I think it gets the job done, and, I don't have really too many complaints. This is one of those that I can give an honest review right here, right now, but I almost want to make a winter series come December where I kind of revamp some of these and really give a test, in the nit and gritty. Now, I wouldn't really say with how I felt about this fragrance, with its performance, its profile, and everything, that I don't have a ton of negative things to say, because it doesn't need a lot of negatives to say. This is, while it is in the amber and spicy fragrance family, to me it's a little more leathery, woody, bold. That booziness is more just over time of smelling a lot of these fragrances. So it's definitely not as sweet as some of the Angel Share, Kamarakawas. This is a lot more masculine, and to, the younger crowd, if you're more into those kind of sweeter, whether it's tinge of florals in the summer or just the gourmands in the winter, this might just be a little more bolder for your, for how you're trying to come across, and I get it, some people don't want to smell super mature and super bold. It might not fit their personality, it might not fit what they're going for. And again, I don't know, I've done a little bit of digging here and there to see what people say, and for the most part, I think the average here is people are giving around, 6 to 8 hours, which I think, for my end, it was about the 6 hour, 5 to 6. But it's one of those you'll have to kind of try it and see, and with everything affecting it, just like most fragrances, it's hard to pinpoint, at least with this one. But even if I call it the 6 hours, I still think for the price that you're paying for this and what you're getting, I think it's an overall really great budget fragrance for date nights, for the winter, and even the autumn too. That warming scent, I think it does an excellent job. necessarily a profile that you know, fully are backing, I would try and seek it out and give it a whirl yourself to see if it fits that sort of mold that you want to create this winter. But all in all, I think I can comfortably and confidently give Bentley For Men Intense a solid 8 out of 10. I was really surprised by this. I was worried that I wasn't going to like it as much as some people have said, and that maybe it wasn't a perfect fit for me. But at least in that fall winter time, this is something that I can comfortably rock, and I definitely will be wearing this. Hell yeah, guys. Let's end with some proper empty box tapping. But thank you guys so